Johnny Phillips with Junior Achievement, where we prepare students to succeed in a global economy.
Hello, my name is Hiram Holloway. I'm currently a client support specialist at Yext, a technology company headquartered in New York City.
Hiram, thank you for taking the time to sit and talk with me for a little bit, share some insight. I'm going to start. You mind sharing your job story? So maybe what you do now for a living and where you started and how you got there.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again, Johnny, for having me on. So just a little bit about myself. I was actually born in London, England.
Okay.
I moved from England or London to Stanford, Connecticut in 2000.
Okay.
Um, so I grew up there, and while I was in high school, my junior year of high school, the city actually started a program called the Males Youth Employment Program. And that was my first step into getting a job. So my first job was through the city of Stanford, and they built relationships with different companies around local businesses around town. So my first job was actually working at an accounting firm. And I got to say, I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and because I always thought I was like, oh man, I really want to be in finance. I was always good at math. I was a great accountant. And after 3 months, I knew I didn't like it. So this next summer, my senior year, I actually got a chance to work in education at the University of Connecticut, Stanford. That was cool. I got a chance to sit in different departments, bursar, financial aid. I even front desk, library, literally everywhere. And that was a really good experience. But I knew I also didn't want to work in education at that point either. So when I graduated from high school in Stanford, I actually went to school in a place in Dallas, Texas called Southern Methodist University. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it at all, but if any of you all are sports fans, you would know. You may have seen the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary about SMU. I was there for about a year and a half. I didn't necessarily like it, and actually transferred to Howard University in Washington D.C., which is a historically black college. And I got to say, it was a complete 180 in terms of experience. But I will say that going to Howard University was the best decision that I've ever made in my life. And I would recommend that, as Black African American people in this country, the experience I got was invaluable. The network I got was invaluable, and I am who I am because of that. I think I would be where I am. I don't know if I would be where I am without that. So we'll just leave it there. While I was in college, again, I'm thinking of going into finance. I knew I didn't like accounting, so I actually switched my major from economics and math to finance. My first internship was at a investment bank in New York City. It was all right. It was good. I thought I liked it. My next internship, my junior year, was very pivotal. I worked at a advertising technology company called
Mm.
Dashbid Media. And while I was there, I was a corporate finance intern. But what Dashwood does is pretty cool, and a lot of people really don't know this. Not and so what they did was, they would put ads out on online videos. So just to kind of give you an example of how that works, if you watch a video on, let's say, CNN, right? Or YouTube, it doesn't work as well like this on YouTube, but we'll use YouTube as an example. Before you watch a video online, there's an advertisement that comes up. But I don't know, have you ever thought of how did that advertisement get there and why did this advertisement pop up? Well,
Mm.
what this company did was they built out, they had a, they were part of this process where there's something called a real-time bidding system. And so in milliseconds before the video comes up, this is all computer automated, companies are bidding to put their advertisements in front of this video. And this is
Mm.
all happening through an automated process. So like literally in seconds before the video starts, a company's paying X amount of dollars to put their ad in front of this video.
Mm.
And so that was my first experience in technology, and I thought it was so interesting. I didn't know anything about it. No one in my family was in technology. I mean, had I known about this when I was in high school, I may have thought about being a computer science major because it was just so interesting to me.
Mm.
But I stuck out with the finance, but I did get a chance to speak with everyone else. And going back into school, I was like, okay, I really like this technology thing. So upon graduation, come back to New York, I actually get a job at Yelp. At Yelp, I was in their small business sales department. I didn't really like it as much.
Mhm.
I didn't like the sales aspect, and from there, I moved over to Yext, where I liked the client facing piece. I liked speaking with different customers. I liked helping people grow their business and also make money. But I wanted to be on the post-sale side, and that's what I'm doing now here at Yext. I've been up with Yext for about 2 years now, and it's been such a great experience. But it's really kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities of what's out there. And I think for a lot of people, you don't really you don't know what you like until you've tried it. And so
Mm-hmm.
one advice that was given to me while I was in college was, because I would talk to people who were older than me when I was a freshman and a sophomore, like, how did you get to this point? How did you know that you like this? And, they said, you just got to try as much as you can, do as
Yeah.
many internships as you can. While you're on campus, while you're at school, just try doing different things, be a part of different clubs, different organizations, talk to different people, and find out what it is that you like to do. I did accounting for 3 months. I didn't know I didn't like it, so I moved on to the next thing. I'm in tech. I work at an ad tech company now. Technology, this is great.
Yeah.
And so you just got to really kind of figure out what it is that you like, and just don't stop until you get there.
Mm-hmm. You shared a lot of valuable information in that. So I want to kind of go back to your sentiment about Howard University and it allowing you to be who you are, and kind of recap on your education path in a sense, right? You majored in finance, correct?
Yes.
And how you found, do you find that the skills that you were using in finance and the ways that you approach finance, you find that that's similar to technology? You find that there's a kind of a connection you can make there?
So for me, it was the thought process. It was the way that it was the problem solving aspect that's transferable in finance, right? Because a lot of people think that finance is math based, but it's really not as math heavy as you might think. It's more theory based. And so, being that I was I had enough credits in economics to get a minor. I was one class short of getting a math minor. So, like being in math, economics, and then finance, it was really the problem solving piece, and that was the biggest takeaway. But that wasn't something that I didn't realize that until months, years later,
Yeah.
that was the piece. While you're in the moment, it's really hard to see that because it is hard, it is difficult. But when you come out on the other side, the way in which you approach problems is going to be is what's really that's the most important piece. Someone told me when I guess you could say a mentor of mine told me, people pay you to solve problems. So the if you know how to solve the more complex problems you know how to solve, that's the value that people want. That's what people are going to pay you for. And
Yeah.
that's the where you're going to see the most successful people is how to solve problems. So I'm not saying you have to be a math major or an econ major or a finance major, but learn how to solve problems. And that's what's going to ultimately help you in life.
Right. Like critical thinking, right? And
Right.
kind of analytical thinking. That's very valuable. Thank you for sharing that piece of information because we don't recognize skills sometimes are transferable. You can use the same approach to solve different problems and go from there.
Right.
Now, Hiram, before we end off, is there any other resources you would want to share about Howard University and maybe like your time with the application process as a transfer student? Any other recommendations or pieces of information you would want to share with our young people who are interested in going to Howard or considering going to a HBCU?
Yeah, of course, it's a great experience, but they really prepare you for life, right? I found that being at Howard was more difficult for me than being at the other university that I attended. And not
Mm,
because, and the work for all intents and purposes, right? The work that the textbooks are similar, but at Howard, they understand that when you get out into the real world, it's not going to be easy and no one's going to give you a break. And so
yeah.
they really prepare you and teach you how to overcome all obstacles in life. I mean, just as an example, a lot of students may have had, I'll give my own personal example.
Mm,
When I first transferred to Howard, I had a really hard time getting my credits transferred, right? This was my first, like, this is like my first experience into Howard. I
Yeah.
get onto campus, I'm thinking, oh, the previous university I was at, everything was automatic, everything was seamless.
Hmm.
But I spent the first week just trying to get my credits transferred and so I could sign up for classes.
Yeah.
And at the time you say, why would someone make it so hard for you? But it teaches you perseverance. It teaches you to overcome all the obstacles. Because if you want something bad enough, you won't let anything get in your way.
Yeah.
And that was what I had, and that's what I learned. And I tell you, I failed more than I succeeded, but all you need is one success. All you need is one success. And once you get that one success, that builds up that confidence, and then you can build on that. And you learn to deal with failure, and you learn that, that every no leads to a yes. So
yeah. No, that's once again, you just touched on some really good things, right? That's a very humble way of looking at it, in a sense. You're gonna fail, you're gonna lose, and you're gonna actually learn more from the way that you fail than when you succeed. You take your wins when you can, you take your failures, in stride. So I like that. Hiram, once again, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me, sharing some very, very valuable information around the tech field and also, potential HBCU students, right? So thank you from Junior Achievement. We say your time is one of the most valuable things you can give, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Hey, likewise. Thank you so much for having me on. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.